Well, let's turn to news from Egypt now, where a presidential election is drawing to a close. Vote counting is expected to begin immediately as polling stations shut their doors. Egyptians have been voting for a new president since Monday. And of course, they're choosing between President Abdel-Fattah el-Sisi and politician Mousa Mustafa. The incumbent is widely expected to win. Nearly 60 million Egyptians were eligible to vote, but authorities complained of low voter turnout. The National Election Authority said it would enforce a law penalizing boycotters with a fine of around $30. Official results are expected by the 2nd of April. Well, it's now across to Egypt, where Adel Al-Mahraoui is standing by with the very latest on these elections. Adel, have polling stations officially closed, and when can we expect vote tallying to begin?
The polls are about to close, actually precisely after about 1 hour and 45 minutes. This is where it is scheduled to close all across the country. That's 9 o'clock in the evening local time. Right after that, in each polling station, the count of the votes, the physical votes, will take place. And from each ballot station, the votes or the results of that specific station will go to a constituency or a main ballot station within the constituency itself, and so on until it reaches the Egyptian National Authority that will gather the entire numbers and statistics of the votes from all these polling stations. According to the National Elections Authority, the process should take it about 5 days to calculate and gather the information and have official figures and recalculate the numbers again and make sure that they are correct. So as soon as the polls shut down in less than 2 hours, the numbers will start to be coming out, and it doesn't seem to be a very complicated calculative process. There are only 2 candidates. Votes will be either for President Abdel-Fattah el-Sisi, for his competitor, which will be very few of them, or invalid votes. So there isn't a lot of options, and many are expecting that the calculation process of the votes will not take long.
And indeed, of course, the main concern, as we know, has been voter turnout. Authorities did threaten penalties for those choosing to boycott the vote. Do you think that's helped to boost the turnout?
Well, it is customary. Every election, the penalties are another topic to be discussed in Egypt, and it happens to encourage voters, or at least frighten those who did not want to go or were reluctant to go, but at the same time they cannot afford to pay these $30 fine per person for not going. And the government has never ever implemented these penalties on its public. It's quite actually impossible to gather. So to do so, the only way to do so and know who voted from who did not is actually through physical names logged that are present in each ballot station. There is no technology about it. There is no database or computerized system that calculates or gathers the information about the attendance. So it has to be done physically, and that's why when it's always brought up, the penalty issue, it's never been implemented at the end, because it's a hectic, long process and has a lot of manual work. They have to go through logs with 60 million names to see who went and who did not. And even if they formulate that list, they still have to go to these millions and calculate and gather these fines from them. In any case, it has been effective to a very small minority, because most of the rural areas, it seems that the turnout was higher than urban Egypt, and therefore it is not expected that such a threat or the re-emergence of the application of the penalties would affect people. Especially right now, the weather is not getting nice. It's windy and dusty, and the National Meteorology Authority has warned people to go out because the weather might become a little bit harsh. So it might not be so effective after all.
All right, Adel Al-Mahraoui there in Cairo as voting draws to a close, and as we heard, that vote count expected to start within the next 2 hours.